views and opinions expressed by Edwin are Edwin and Edwin's only, all right? Not of his sponsors, employers, baby mama, anybody he went to school with, anybody he owe money to. With that being said, enjoy the video. What is going on, everyone? Edwin Pagan here. Thanks for joining me on the Word on the Road podcast, your weekly technology care package, man. I'm your host, Edwin Pagan. If you're new to the channel, this is a weekly podcast I do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where I take 3 articles from the internet, usually technology related, that I find interesting, fascinating, or whatever. I give you my insight on them, I break them down, and I send you on your way, hopefully more informed and more aware of the things going on the internet and in the world. With that being said, man, I'm doing a little something different this week with the podcast. I wanted to experiment with doing this episode live through YouTube. So right now I'm live streaming it. It's on private, but I'm using like this whole Stream Deck situation from Elgato. So shout out to the folks at Elgato. And so basically I'm trying to do the whole episode live. So all the transitions that I do, everything, like as far as like, because I spend so much time when I do these podcasts, I have to edit them in post-production, right? So I use Adobe Rush. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm doing in post-production are like really simple transitions. It's like simple stuff like adding like my little name in the title, or like the little graphic you see right here. Where is it? This way, that little graphic right there. I literally spend like 45 minutes to an hour rendering a video just to be able to put that logo there, and it's like I got to figure out a way to do it live, so I'm spending less time editing and more time on other things. So hopefully you know, I'll be able to do these a lot quicker now. So the way I have my stuff set up right now is that it'll literally take me the extent of basically filming this episode plus putting the captions in and stuff like that, or the description stuff. Hopefully with that I can make these episodes much quicker. So with that being said, I apologize if there's any minor glitches on this episode, but like I said, I'm constantly working to optimize the podcast and make it so I can just give this content out as quick as possible, because the easier it is for me to make the stuff, the easier it is for me to put out the stuff for you guys out there. So with that being said, man, I appreciate everyone who's been listening to the podcast, everybody's insight. Like I said, man, it's been a lot of fun doing this. I can't believe, I think this is like episode 16 or something like that. So it's crazy, man. It's been a long time. It feels like a long time, but you know what it is? It's quarantine. Quarantine's got Poppy feeling like he's been stuck inside the house like crazy. Like I said, man, the easier it is for me to make the content, the more content I can put out. But like, how's everybody's quarantine going? You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I want to know, because like everyone is officially in quarantine. Florida is going crazy. Florida right now, we got 178 infections. I keep looking at the number as far as like the total state. No, we have 178 infections in Orange County, which is Orlando, where I'm at. So I promise you can't get the virus to the internet through this video. But we have almost 5,000 infections in Florida. So it's scary times, man. It really is. It went from being something that I was just like, oh, it's happening, to like, shit, you know what I mean? And I don't like to curse on the podcast too much, but it's just one of those things where it's like, shit, bro, like this is serious. And so again, with the podcast and with everything I'm doing, hopefully it distracts me from it. But you know, like it's crazy, bro. We've been watching. It's funny how everyone is discovering Tiger King. That's wild, bro. Because just to go a little off topic, but it's crazy how everybody's watching Tiger King, man. I am in love with the show Tiger King. Free Joe Exotic, despite the things they're saying he did. It is such an interesting show. If you haven't watched it, check it out on Netflix. And then when you're done, go on YouTube and look up Joe Exotic and listen to his music videos. He's got some bangers, and my fiance is going crazy because she's like, stop playing that damn music in the house. I'm like, I can't help it. All right, Joe Exotic is dope. But no, it's dope, man. We've been watching Tiger King, and then a couple of other shows on Netflix like Ozark. I just found out that Ozark is on, so I'm looking forward to that. And I seen that new movie with Marky Mark and Post Malone. I forgot what it's called, but I'm trying not to watch too much Netflix and really trying to utilize the time to like watch other more informative things. But like lately, it's just like, man, like I don't even want, like, even the typical movies I'd watch on my downtime, I don't want to watch them. Like, I usually watch The Departed like crazy, but I haven't been watching The Departed at all. But yeah, man, quarantine is weird, bro. Quarantine is weird, and like I think like the next thing I need to start making is like I need to have a schedule. Like, I'm looking at like self-reflecting and like the time, how I'm utilizing my time, and I'm like, you definitely need some type of like schedule of like of things like how your day is gonna break out, because it's like I'm all over the place. And so I want to, like, I think for me, like, I want to live stream more. And so the more I'm learning about live streaming, the more I'm realizing that live streaming isn't just gaming. It could be anything. So I think my next step is going to be like having an open live stream, like, for like 3 or 4 hours throughout the day while I'm working on other stuff, and then like be able to communicate with other people through that means, through the chat and stuff like that. But I just, like, bro, I'm just trying to not take advantage of the time I have right now, but like utilize my time to like just reach out to as many people as possible and communicate and build my following as much as possible organically, you know what I mean? And then also I like communicating with other people as far as like about technology, because I love learning new things about tech. I feel like my knowledge is like forever unfinished in that sense, where it's like you can never stop learning. And so when you learn stuff from new people, that's always interesting. But that's pretty much what's going on in Poppy's world, in my world. But with that being said, let's get into the articles, man, for today's podcast. Hopefully a light news, you know what I'm saying? But as always, the articles I discuss on this podcast are available in the description below. All right, if you're listening on iTunes or on a podcast application, it'll be in the bio of the podcast, right? So all the articles discussed will be on that. So with that being said, man, let's go ahead and jump into the first article of the day, coming from the actually, hold on a second. Let me make sure I got all my stuff right. So let's look at the first article coming from the fine folks at MIT. Basically, it's coming from MIT, which is really, really dope what MIT is doing. So it's an article about energy harvesting design aims to turn Wi-Fi signals into usable power. So basically, pioneering what's going to be wireless electricity. Man, this is really freaking dope. So basically, the article talks about something called T-rays, and it's basically something that's it's energy, but it's invisible energy that all of us create. And so devices like Wi-Fi and devices like our body create these things called T-rays, and it's basically something like that's energy. It's energy. And so what researchers are aiming to do is create a device that basically takes this energy, harvests it, right, and then is able to use it as electricity. So imagine if you had a Wi-Fi, on your phone, and then you had a T-ray antenna on your phone. And what that T-ray antenna does is basically captures T-rays around you, right, whether it be from the heat, whether it be from anything, and then it churns it into electricity that can then charge your phone. So it's true wireless electricity, and it's really dope, right? Because if you think about it, the applicational use of this, right, whether it be deploying it in the Amazon, whether it be just something that your phone constantly always has enough battery power to get the job done, where it's like your phone could be sitting on your desk, and without any issue you can basically have electricity coming on your phone. And so this is really, really gnarly to me. Obviously they're in the early stages of it, and most people would say, Edwin, what about things like solar power? Yes, that's solar power is one option, but wireless electricity, especially something that is using energy that's already out there versus transmitting electricity from one point to another, like a cordless phone. This is actually just really, really cool. So definitely check out the article. This is from the fine folks at MIT.edu. So next article is coming from the fine folks at, we're going to go to hitconsultant.net. So I've never read this article, not read this article, but I've never actually looked at this publication before. But this article is basically talking about pandemic drones could detect virus symptoms like COVID-19 in crowds. So basically, and this feels like this really does feel like a Black Mirror episode. I'm not gonna lie to you. Basically, they're designing drones that will be able to go over crowds of people, and with those drones will have sensor technologies that are able to see things like coughing, that are able to see things like body temperature, that are able to detect just the symptoms of what a flu or COVID-19 could be like. So what's weird right now is that with this whole pandemic that's going on right now, you're seeing a lot of companies jumping on the bandwagon of like technologies to help save us and prevent pandemics from happening, right? So you see what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like after 9/11, where all these defense companies came out of nowhere, companies who made drones to kill people or to kill enemies. I don't want to get political. To kill enemies, technology for like terrorist attacks, biological warfare. And so you're seeing that now with basically what's going going on with COVID, in the sense that like you're gonna have companies who are basically designing technology to basically keep us safe. Now, it's weird because it's kind of like, is it evasive? You know what I'm saying? Like, would you consider this like an invasion of your privacy in that respect, in the sense of like, yo, why are these drones flying, monitoring us and stuff like that? Because you got to remember, like, this thing isn't testing for the virus itself, right? It's not actually like scanning your brain or something like that and say, hey, that guy down there has the virus. It's looking for flu-like symptoms, right? And so that's kind of scary, because like, what if you're just like, this is a bad example, right? But what if someone is like what if you drop this at a music festival, right? And everyone at the music festival is doing drugs, Molly and stuff like that. Their body temperatures are going to be elevated. Is this thing scanning people's bodies and saying, hey, all these bodies are hot, they probably have the virus? So it's one of those things where like we got to be careful with this technology and creating algorithms and sensors and compliances that say, hey, this is the baseline of what someone with a virus can look like, and taking effective action on that. But like I said, this whole coronavirus is pioneering all these different companies that are going to be quote unquote helping us stay safe during this crazy time. You know what I'm saying? Don't be surprised if someone comes up with like, I don't know. I can't even think about the amount of things that are going to be coming out of this, because obviously everyone's going to jump on that bandwagon. But with that being said, man, check out that article. I probably did a bad job of describing it, but that's coming from the fine folks at the HIT Consultant, HIT Consultant.com. All right, so next article and last article is coming from the fine folks, of course, of TheVerge.com, which is Google has banned the Infowars app over false coronavirus claims. Now, this kind of goes back to what I was saying before about how so many companies and medias and whatever are jumping onto the bandwagon of the coronavirus, right? And Google has made it a point, and Apple has made it a point to prevent people from taking advantage of this time, and also the spreading of misinformation, right? During this time where people need to be quarantined, people need to take this seriously. There's a lot of individuals out there who aim to build their following based on false information. And individuals who are selling things like coronavirus preventative medication or putting out false information about coronavirus. And so the famous gentleman Alex Jones, if you're not familiar with him, he's very similar to Joe Exotic. That's a terrible example. But so basically Apple has banned the Infowars application from the Android store. I'm sorry, Google has banned the Android app from the Android App Store. Basically saying that Alex Jones was trying to push a conspiracy theory about coronavirus to tell people, hey, this thing is not real. And also kind of trying to sell medication and basically snake oil as something that could help prevent the coronavirus through his app. And again, this is something that I take personally seriously, because false information and misinformation is a real thing. And there's people out there who will look at this stuff and be like, he's right, the government's lying, and they're conspiracy theorists, and then they're going to go out there and say, yeah, this virus isn't real, it's manufactured by the government, and then not take the precautions, and before you know it, we're spreading this virus like crazy. And misinformation, I go back to this, misinformation is a real problem in this country, and I'm very, very, like, it's a rock in a hard spot, because you look at the fact that like we have freedom of speech, we have the freedom of press, right? And a couple months ago, about a year ago, when they had banned Alex Jones from YouTube, a part of me was like, is he not entitled to his own opinion? Is he not entitled to kind of put out the message that he wants? And in that respect, I kind of disagreed with YouTube, because I feel that like you have the right to put out your opinion out there of, you know, what you feel is right or wrong, and then I have the right to counter your opinion, and we can have that argument. But when we start deplatforming people and saying, hey, you're not even allowed to be on this platform because of your views, then that's where we kind of tread on interesting territory. But in this situation, when we have a national pandemic where the data is there, we're seeing it, like we're personally seeing that, like, yo, people are dying. You're seeing it in Italy, you're seeing it in New York. then it's one of those situations where it's like it's not necessarily suppressing information, but we need to make sure that we don't have characters out there who are pushing a false narrative to people. You know what I'm saying? And so Google taking them down, I don't really have necessarily like I'm not necessarily against it, because I also feel that like at the end of the day, it's Google's platform. It's their business. It's a private business, and they reserve the right to do whatever they want. So in this instance, for them saying, hey, you know what, we're not going to tolerate this, in my opinion, I say, you know what, salute to Google for that. And it's an issue. I also seen this on what's the application called, Instagram, where Instagram, one of my homegirls was she posted a picture, and it basically it was like an informative picture or whatever, but it was talking about how like if you gargle hot water with salt, it can kill corona. And before I was able to view that picture, Instagram said this is possibly and more than likely fake information. So even Instagram is battling misinformation, because they understand how dangerous misinformation can be. And so it's something that like in this time we need that more than ever. So it's, bro, I'm telling you, it's a scary time. It's a scary time to be alive, bro. It's a scary time to be alive, but it's also a great time to be alive with how technology is bringing us so together, and in you know, in helping us battle this epidemic. So with that being said, guys, this wraps up the Word on the Road episode. Of course, all the articles discussed today will be in the description below. If you have any questions for me, if you like, if you want me to talk about some other articles, if you have any whatever, man, just drop it into the comments, man. Of course, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, on major podcast applications, and of course, man, I appreciate everyone who has subscribed to the channel and who watches these videos. It means a lot to me. I'll probably be streaming some gaming to earlier, or probably be streaming later tonight. But with that being said, man, I appreciate everyone watching this. And until next time, folks, my name is Adam Pagan. Take care. This is Word on the Road podcast. Peace.
Alex, what are you doing?
Watching my dad's channel.
Watching your dad's YouTube channel?